So, Adam, knowing you're one of our subject matter experts regarding supply chain management here at Third Stage, I wanted to talk to you about a relevant issue we're experiencing right now when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccines and supply chain. And we know we've seen a lot of local and world governments implement mandates when it comes to vaccines or companies making that mandatory. And knowing that we already have kind of a stressed supply chain currently, I wondered if I could get your feedback on what that looks like specifically when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines.
Yeah, I think that this is my opinion, right? We have yet to see how COVID-19 vaccine mandates will impact the supply chain long term. There's just far too much complexity in that for us to know today. But what I think is probably going to be one of the biggest topics is that as companies are forced to enforce vaccine mandates, they're going to find more people are resigning and that more people are leaving their business and that they are going to have a labor shortage that is compounded. And as people leave by their own accord by saying, I refuse to be a part of this. Those firms that are producing raw materials and components for finished goods are going to see that they are less and less capable of meeting the capacity that is required to fulfill the needs of their customers. So I think that from a long-term perspective, we're going to see this get worse because there will be fewer people producing fewer goods and fewer people maintaining and driving the supply chain, whether it's at distribution centers, ports, truck centers, airlines, any type of transportation as it pertains to rail lines and any of those types of things. As the labor market shrinks for them, they will have fewer ways of maintaining the supply chain and meeting the demand out there.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And logistically, not so much, we don't have political opinions about this. We mostly just talk about relevant operational topics. So
Hmm.
when we do things like install a mandate of anything, does that hurt or help the supply chain problems?
Um, I mean, that's a really broad question. There are certain mandates. Laws are a form of a mandate, right? Taxes are a form of a mandate, right? So these are all things that are a part of doing business. So as you think about using the word mandate and its impact on the supply chain, there are lots of things that are already impacting the supply chain that are enabling it. I personally think that what we're going to see and what we're already seeing is some of the stricter mandates that are designed to create restrictions are going to be further disrupt the supply chain, and that any type of um, role in influencing the supply chain should be more to loosen it up and to support it and help grease the wheels, if you will, on making the supply chain more open and enabling it to function a bit more. I'd say that it is probably going to be more effective to help out rather than to create barriers.
Interesting. And we talk kind of about government's role in things like supply chain and what that looks like because it's a difficult balance, I would assume, in private supply chains, right? But needing help for public regulations or when there is some sort of huge blockage, then governments will kind of get involved and assist. So knowing that typically a government would provide relief to a broken supply chain, do governments that are putting mandates or more goods within that we need to ship and distribute and store within warehouses with vaccine mandates, is that something that is the government's role?
Uh, I mean, every government in the world is different as far as what it is their role should be for their country and how that should function. So I'd say that in some countries, yes, and in other countries, no. That depends on on your form of government and how it's structured. As it pertains to keeping people healthy and keeping people working, I believe in the carrot approach.
Gotcha. And when it comes to the long-term effects of any sort of vaccine mandates and things like that in regards to the supply chain, is that something that you see continuing, or is that more kind of uh, uh, an emergency situation that will alleviate when it comes to additional need for supply chain stress?
Yeah, I think that as long as COVID-19 is something that drives fear-based reactions in the market and in our daily lives, there will be a role for vaccine mandates, and that will continue to have an impact. Um, at third stage, the approach that we take is that we are here to be at the um, we're here to work for our clients and be their partner in this journey. And what that means for us is that we, as we come in and visit our clients, as we do work for our clients, we're going to focus on what it is that makes them the most comfortable. And if that means that we only have vaccinated, mask wearing consultants on site, and they're wearing masks the whole time, then that's fine for us. We're here to be your partner in the ways that you choose for that. So whatever it is our clients are comfortable with, we will be compliant with.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. I think more I meant on the supply chain side. Do you think that this is just a temporary stress, or if this is something that, say, a good example would be the medical community, right? If you are maybe a medical device manufacturer and you're struggling because all of the resources have gone to those types of mandated distribution, is that something you should continue to plan for, or do you think that's more of a temporary issue?
Yeah, I'd say this is a long-term thing. You should be continuing to plan for it. I think that one thing that COVID has taught us is that it will evolve and it will change and it will continue to surprise us. So I would say that it's good sound advice to expect that to continue to happen. It's been happening for the past year and a half now, at least, and understanding that or expecting that pattern to change soon, I think is foolish.
Okay. And then when it comes to what companies can do within their controllables, knowing that they only have so many when it comes to supply chain, what are some things that they can do to kind of optimize what they have in their current role or avoid disruption?
Yeah, so get ahead of it. Is the first thing. The more you can do to understand your supply chain, understand where your greatest points of risk are. If you're heavily dependent on one raw material that comes from one vendor, maybe start thinking about supplemental or substitute raw materials and substitute vendors, and understand what that looks like. So if one vendor fails for you, you have a backup plan. Think about that in advance, I would say. And just as much being able to shorten your supply chain, I think is a good, prudent task to undergo as well. If the more stops in your supply chain and on your materials way to you, the more exposed you are to supply chain disruptions. I'd
Definitely.
also say use your data. If you have good data, use it. The more you can see and the better you can see into your supply chain, and the more you know about it, the better off you're going to be.
So it sounds like you can almost arm yourself with business process insights to be able to
Mhm.
better optimize your business and then create variety within your software vendor, or I'm sorry, supply chain vendor portfolio.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you for answering my questions. Definitely a relevant topic and important to continue to consider as we move through our supply chain triage approaches. So, if you have any additional questions for Adam or any of our supply chain experts, his contact information is below. You can also look at our supply chain playlist on our YouTube channel our Third Stage YouTube channel, and then also our Eric Kimberling channel as well.